So what is Emmet? Well, Emmet is a plugin for co-editors like Sublime, Coda, Dreamweaver, Brackets, and many others. They do offer support for a lot of other co-editors. What I like about Emmet is that it's super easy to learn because it uses CSS syntax. Let me just show you a quick example. So if I type in an LI tag here, a list item, right? LI greater than symbol and an A, this will give me something like this. So you will see that I have a list item here with an anchor tag inside. Now I can make 20 of this in 1 second just by adding an asterisk and the letter and the number 20. And this will create 20 list items immediately. Now you can see the power of this. Sometimes we have to copy and paste certain elements in the HTML page many times to do this. With Emmet, we just have to multiply it. So now this is just a very small example of what Emmet can do. Now what I like about Emmet is that it's consistent across all editors. So if you for some reason decide to change your co-editor in the future and you jump to another one and you find out that it does support Emmet, then you don't have to change anything because it uses all the same features. Most of the time you're going to type in your abbreviation LI, for example, greater than symbol and A, and then press the tab key, and that will work across all editors. Now in some editors you might have to change the keyboard shortcut, but the same features and same functionality across all editors. It's something that Emmet has. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this lecture, and I'll see you in the next ones. Go on Google, and I'm just gonna type in Emmet here, and then the first link should be emmet.io. Make sure that you are there. Go all the way down or wherever they have this download button, because I don't know if it's gonna be like that in the future, right? Click it, and now here you will see all the co-editors that they have, that they support. Right? So we say that we are going to be installing it in Sublime. So I'm going to click on that. And then we got some more information here. You can read it if you want. I'm going to click on how to install. And we got two options. We can install it with something called the package control, or we can do it manually. I'm going to use package control. And I'm going to click on it. It's going to take me to this page here. I'm going to click on install. And now here, what I have to do, depending on what type of co-editor I got, well, in this case, what version, is Sublime Text 2 or Sublime Text 3, right? So Sublime Text 2 is my co-editor, the version that I'm using. I'm just going to copy this code, open my co-editor, Sublime, in this case. Now keep in mind that each editor has a different installing instruction, all right? I'm just doing this for this. Later on we're going to do the brackets one, all right? So what you're going to be doing is here is you're going to go to view, show console, and paste that information there and click enter. This is going to say please restart Sublime Text to finish installation. So I'm just going to quit that right here and restart it again. Now once you restart it, right, you're going to press, depending on what operating system you are. I'm in a Mac, so I'm going to press Command Shift P. If you're in the Windows, it should be Control instead of Command Shift P. And then here you're going to say, you're going to write install. And then the first option should be package control, install package. So I'm just going to click that one, and that's going to install it for me. That's it. Now here you can start choosing what type of plugin you want to install. So we're going to be searching for the Emmet. So I'm going to type in the Emmet, E-M-M-E-T. You won't see any options for me because I already have Emmet installed. But if you don't have Emmet, you should see the first option should say Emmet Zen Coding. That's the one that you want. Zen Coding, all right? Emmet Zen Coding. And once you find it, you click it with your mouse, right? Pop, and it will install it for you. All right? Now to see it in action, all you have to do is open an HTML page, a page with a .html extension, of course, and type in li greater than symbol A and then the tab key, and that will create, then you will see that it is working. If it's not working, you need to check your shortcuts. But anyway, let's go and move on to brackets. Later on, we're gonna start writing, we're gonna start using it. All right, so right now I'm not gonna focus on that. I want to focus on finishing the installation for brackets. because brackets Sublime is not free, and some of you might not have it, and brackets it is free. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna press back on this, since this is gonna take me all the way down to Emmet, and I'm going to click on here, and now it's gonna tell me how to actually install it in brackets. And to install it in brackets is super simple. For those of you that don't know brackets, brackets is a super cool co-editor from Adobe, and that is free, is open source, and it's very similar to Sublime. It has a whole bunch of features. So I'm gonna open my brackets co-editor. As you can see, I already even it even looks like Sublime. And then here it says to go to File and then Extension Manager. So I'm gonna go to File, then Extension Manager. All right, and here I can search, and you see that I already have Emmet. But if you want to search for something else, you could search it right here in this box. If I type in Emmet here, of course it will find this. And then for you, it will probably say install. And then you click on that button there, install. Okay? You can check for themes, and you can just check to see what updates you need to, what's available for you. In my case, it's update, so I'm just going to update it there. All right? Done. All right, so we're done with installation. Hopefully you are able to do it. If not, let me know and I will help you out. But it's very simple, very straightforward. And Coda, this is another co-editor there that a lot of people use. All right, this is the way to install it there. So depending on your co-editor, this will show you exactly how to install it. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this lecture, and I see you in the next one. Take care. And open your co-editor right here, and drag it in there, or open it in there if you have that functionality. And here what we want to do is create two files. First one is going to be the basic.html. I'm going to save it, Command S or Control S, save. As you can see right here, I'm going to click on this again, and I'm going to create another one called intro.html. All right, perfect. All right. So now the first thing that I want to show you here, right? And I'm going to do it here since this video would be very short if I don't do anything else, right? So let's go ahead and write an exclamation, right? And after the line, all you have to do is press tab, and that will create a whole HTML skeleton right there. Then I'm going to save that, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Exclamation, tab. Okay? So now we are done with this, and on the next lecture I'm going to show you some of the most common functionalities that you're going to be doing with Emmet, and that would be probably like 90 to 95% of the time. So it's gonna be a pretty cool lesson, and you're gonna learn a lot. So I see you in the next lecture. Take care. Hi my dear students, welcome back. Now I wanted to give you a heads up on some of the things that you might encounter when you are using Emmet. For example, let's say that you are trying to use the tab key and it's not working for you. And for example, in this one here, I just put a P tag and press the tab key, and it does that for me. If it doesn't work for you, try Control E and it will do the same thing. The reason why it's not working for you is because your co-editor keyboard preferences is conflicting with the Emmet ones, with the Emmet preferences. So make sure that you map those keyboard shortcuts, or you turn them off in your co-editor if you're not using them, and map it to your Emmet one. The Emmet or out of the box works with tab, so you will have to map out the ones that you're using for your co-editor. Now there are other issues too when you, let's say for example, you're using another keyboard shortcut and it's not working out for you, and your co-editor is not the culprit, is not the one creating the problem, the conflict. That problem could be your operating system. So you can go to your operating system and make sure that it's not using it, and if it is using it and it's not that very important, turn it off. For example, in my Mac, I will go to System Preferences, Keyboard Shortcuts, and I will turn it off. Whatever it is that I'm not using, I'll just click here and turn it off. If you have a Windows, you should be able, if you don't know how to do that, you should be able to find a tutorial online on how to do that. You know, keyboard shortcuts, Windows, search it on Google, and you should be able to find out how to do that. All right, super easy to do. So just make sure that whatever keyboard shortcut you are trying and is not working for you, all right, that you go ahead and check your preferences in your co-editor and check your preferences in your computer. All right. So anyway, there is also another way of actually doing this to make sure that you have the right preferences. And if you go and open this up and go to Emmet, to the website, and go to your specific co-editor, like we did when we installed it, make sure that when you go to available actions right here, that you are typing in the correct keyboard shortcut for that specific thing that you want to do. Right? So as you can see, the tab key also works with the expanding abbreviation, but you can also use the Control E. So if the tab key is not working for you, it's because your co-editor is using it. All right, and you can use the Control E, but using the Control E is kind of tedious, right? You have to use two keys at the same time, and you know, when you're writing a lot of code, it gets really tedious. So make sure that you're mapping the tab to Emmet, all right, or you're turning it off in your co-editor if you're not using it. So anyway, so hopefully that will avoid many issues there later on, and that way it doesn't confuse you when you try some of these actions and it doesn't work for you. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I see you in the next lectures. Hi, welcome back, my dear students. In this lecture here, the first thing that we're going to be doing is going to intro.html. So make sure that you are on that page. I'm going to change the title here. I'm going to name it intro, right? Then here, let's go ahead and try some things out. The first thing that you should know is that we can make an element like this and add a class to it. So we type in, for example, here we want to create a div. Type in the dot and the class that you want, because the class signifies a class. The dot signifies a class in CSS, right? Then you put your cursor at the end of the line here and you click on tab, and that will create this div with a class of container, right? And then you can do whatever you want there. Let me undo it there so that way you have it in your exercise files. We can also create a div like this, dot container. So we create a div with a class of container by omitting the div, right? By not putting this here. All right, so Emmet will assume that you want a div automatically. By default, it will create a div if you don't put anything here, any element. We can also use h1, of course, and we can just put something, I don't know, block. All right, we can use any element, doesn't have to be a div. We can also use IDs with a pound right here, container. See that? We can also put them together, container. So we can have multiple classes in ID, block 1. Let's put an ID right here. Actually, that container will have an ID of container, right? Well, that div will have an ID of container, a class of block, and then let's put another class there of block 2, and let's put another class of block 3, and then tab. As you can see, we have a div element with an ID and a couple classes. All right, so you can do that if you want. I'm just gonna undo it so that way you have it in your exercise files. We can also create something like this. So let's say we want an ordered list, right? Let's create a child elements. Let's create child elements. So we have an unordered list, and inside that unordered list, I want some list items. So I'm just gonna say greater than symbol. Make sure when you want some child that you type in your greater than symbol. All right, and then LI for list items, and then tab. As you can see, we have a list item, and we have an unordered list and a list item inside. So let's make this a little bigger so that way you can see it. I'm gonna undo it. We can also create a little something a little more complex, something like this. For example, we create an unordered list with a class of style, a list item, and inside this we create an anchor tag with, actually we can put curly brackets there and put something like click here. This curly bracket allows you to put text in whatever element you want. In this case, we're gonna put some text on the anchor tag. At the end of the line, of course, we press tab, and this will create an unordered list with a class of style, a list item with an anchor list, an anchor tag inside with some text. Click here. All right. We can also create some siblings instead of creating child elements. So we can say something like, let me see if I can. So H1, and let's just make sure that we have a title here saying something like Edwin's courses, right? Curly bracket. Then and the way we signify that we want a sibling, that we want to add another element instead of having this as a child, we want to create another element, is we use the plus symbol. And then we could say something, I want an unordered list after the H1 with a class of style. Then I want some list item inside. And inside the list item, I want an anchor tag with click here. And then tab. As you can see, we have the H1 not inside the UL, but as a different element, as a sibling. Then we have the UL with a class of style. We have the list item with an anchor tag inside with click here. All right. As you can see, we can create really complex code really fast. And this is just a little test here. This is just a little example. There's a lot of more things that we could do. But anyway, thank you so much. Hopefully you enjoyed the first lesson here, and I see you in the next one. Take care. Hi, welcome back, my dear student. In this lecture here, I'm going to show you how to add more items, how to replicate items, how to copy items into your code. All right. So we are going to basic.html, and then we're going to do a save as in here, and we're going to call this multiply. Enter. All right. Let me make this a little bigger so that way you can see what I'm doing a little better. All right. So let's say, for example, I want an order list with some list items, and I want 5 of them. Well, all I have to do is use the asterisk and then the number that I want, how many list items I want. In this case, I want 5, so 5, and then tab. That's going to make 5 of them. Beautiful, right? Now, of course, I can be a little more creative and say, you know what, I need a class of style there. This one, I need another class of list items, right? And then I could say I want some anchor tags in there with some text. All right, click here and then tab. Let's make this a little smaller so that way you can see it. All right. Now let me show you a really cool feature of Sublime. Is that if you click here, for example, and you want to write the same word, let's say a placeholder, you want to put a placeholder on all of this at the same time. If you are in Sublime, you just press the Alt key or the Option key and go and drag it down. You can see that. Just drag it down there, and then you can start writing your placeholder there. All right, in this case, I'm just going to put Google there, make this a little smaller. All right. Another thing is that you can jump into between words. So the Alt key, Option key, and the arrow keys, and that would jump into the next word. All right. You can try that with your editor. All right. That's pretty cool, right? Anyway, this is how you replicate items and how basically to copy items, right? So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Take care. Hi, welcome back, my dear student. In this lecture here, we're going to be looking at some text expansion features. Now, we already seen some of it, but I want you to have this in your exercise files, and I want you to kind of have a better idea on what exactly it is. Now, let's go to basic.html. Let's do a save as. Let's call this text hyphen expansion. Enter. All right. There we go here. And now, let's say, for example, I have a div here with a class of block. And I want a h1 there. So I'm just going to put h1. And let's do some of this text that expansion that I'm talking about. Let's do a curly bracket here. And let's just say the title here. The title. And after this h1, I want a paragraph, actually 3 paragraphs. And on these 3 paragraphs, I want some Lorem-Ipsum, right? So I'm going to type in some Lorem-Ipsum here. Not Lorem-Ipsum here, sorry about that. Curly brackets, Lorem-Ipsum. Actually, right there. Enter. Inside these paragraphs, we need to put some Lorem-Ipsum. So let's do it before here, actually. And there we go. And then tap here. There we go. That works fine. You see, if for some reason things don't work out the way you want them to, just make sure you play around with it. All right. So now you can see that we have some Lorem-Ipsum here. And now, believe it or not, all right, I'm going to show you a way that you can make each of these Lorem-Ipsum a different text. All right. So I'm just going to undo this, all of it. Leave it there for you in your exercise files. So let's say, for example, I have, let me just make this a little bigger. I have a class of blocks. Then this class of blocks has, I'm going to create 2 divs actually. And inside these 2 divs, I want an h2 with saying something like title or subtitle in this case. Then I want an image, then a paragraph, and maybe inside that paragraph I want some Lorem-Ipsum. There we go. And then tab. Now let me show you. Minimize this, and as you can see, I have a element here, of a div element with a class of blocks, an h2 title, subtitle, an image, and a paragraph. Now, if you pay attention to this, starting on the paragraph right here, you can see that I have Lorem-Ipsum here, and this one says minus dolor. So if you compare these, both of this, you can tell that they are different paragraphs. So this is how you can actually make different paragraphs. So I'm just going to minimize this and undo it actually. That way you can have it in your exercise file just in case you need to reference it. Sometimes we do things, and even though we think we're doing the same thing that we are watching, we might be missing a plus symbol or have an extra one or a greater than symbol or something like that. So it's very easy to make a mistake here. The trick is to keep practicing and play around with it. This will become natural to you in time. You will get so used to this that you would probably never have to write your divs, all right, entirely like this. You would never have to write this manually again, all right? I'm pretty sure you would just go do this, div and tap, and that's it, all right? But anyway, thank you so much for allowing me to teach you this, and on the next lecture we are going to be expecting some more features from Emmet that I think you are going to like. See you in the next one. Take care. Welcome back, my dear student. In this lecture here, we are going to be using climbing and grouping. All right. So these are very cool features, and I'm going to show you how to use them. Now let's go to basic.html. Let's do a save as, and let's just call this grouping and hyphen, what was the other one? Grouping and climbing. There we go. Almost forgot. There we go. Climbing. Enter. All right. Now, climbing and grouping are very useful when you want to do complex coding with Emmet. So, for example, let's say I have a div, an element here, a div, because it's going to produce a div here automatically, right, as a default, with a class of container. And inside here, I want an h1 with a title, right? Let's say the title is going to be courses. And then I want also inside this div, remember that now I want you to keep in mind that every time we put a greater than symbol, it means that everything after it is going to go inside this major element that's before. So when I include everything after I put maybe anchor tags, paragraph with this greater than, if I continue using that, everything else is going to come inside this element here. All right, just keep that in mind. So for example, now if I want a paragraph, right, I'm going to add a paragraph now, but this paragraph is going to be inside this element, right, even though I'm just making an extra element, but this is going to be inside because this greater than symbol means everything else that comes after is going to be inside. All right, so this would be a problem. I'm going to show you in a minute how it could be a problem and how we can solve it. So let's say, for example, in this paragraph, I want some Lauren. I just write it like this. I don't have to click on tab, right? And then inside the same paragraph, I also want an anchor tag in there. And this anchor tag is going to say click here. Click here. And then I also want another paragraph. So I want my element, my div, to with a class of container to have two paragraphs, right here and right here. So when I click on tab, we have a problem. The problem is, and you probably haven't noticed yet, is that this paragraph here has the other paragraph inside, as you can see right here. All right, I wanted an extra paragraph that would be down here, but it's not. All right, and like I said before, let me just control on Z there so that way you can see, or command on Z. What I said to you is that everything, so once I put this greater than symbol here, that means that everything that goes after will be inside this paragraph right here. All right, so the way we can solve that is two ways. We can use climbing, and climbing is super simple, and that's the preferred way I use it. But I'm also going to show you how to group things together, because there are times when you want to use grouping too. So the climbing, all you have to do is go to your sets on your keyboard, which is a caret symbol there. Type it in with the shift key, right? And then click on tab. And as you can see here, we have that extra paragraph that we wanted there. Really simple, right? Now let's do Control Z again. I'm going to leave this way so that way you can, I'm just going to copy it. That way you can reference that. Now the next way we do this is with grouping. And the way we group is that we use parentheses. So we go to here where that paragraph starts, right? And we put the parentheses, and then we go to where it ends. So it ends right here before that P, that next P element there. That's it. And you can see that. And then we put our cursor at the end and tab. And now you can see that we get the same results again right here. Okay? Super simple. All right? Now, make sure that you see this anchor right here. Another thing is that I have a huge link right here. All right? Make sure that that link is in the separate place here. All right? You can see that we are putting the Lorem Ipsum there, but we are also, all right? I'll tell you right now. Let's do that. Let's do the parentheses there, so that way you can see. We have that click here is nowhere to be found right here. All right, even though we have it here, but it totally disappeared when the grouping, right? So what you want to do is you want the Lorem Ipsum there, right? But then what you want to do is you want to create another one there, all right? And then tab, and that will create that link right here that will create an extra element inside a paragraph. All right, so if you want to do that, make sure that you don't do this, because then you will see the results at the end. It doesn't look that pretty, right? So this will produce this beautiful, right? So anyway, thank you so much for watching this lecture, and let's continue showing you some more extra stuff with Emmet. Hi my dear student, welcome back. In this lecture here, we're going to be playing around with numbers. There are times when you want to add different classes to your elements, or you want to number your classes, right? So let me show you a couple tricks here that are going to save you a bunch of time when you're developing. All right, so let's say, for example, that we have a div with a class of container, and inside this div we have an image, and let's put the square brackets here to put a attribute, and we can put any attribute we want. In this case, it's going to be a class attribute, of course. And let's say, for example, you have a element with a class of thumbnail. Now, if I leave this like this, every element is going to have this class right here. Right here. Let me just multiply this. Create many different elements. 5. So every image is going to have a class of thumbnail, right? Well, let's say, for example, that you want to do something different to this image. How can you produce a different class for this image? Well, this is where we can go ahead and use Emmet to help us with that. So let's undo it here, and right here, we're going to be adding a different class. And this class is going to be a number, right? It's going to be simple. And let's just add a $sign. And that's it. So a space, $sign, tab. As you can see here, now we have each of this image with the same thumbnail class, so you can apply the same styles to all of them, and then you can differentiate each of them by this class numbers here. Alright, that's how you can number them. You can also go ahead and put an underscore there and tab and create that effect here. Put a different class on each of them. Alright, so I'm just going to leave both of them actually there so you can have it in your exercise files. There we go. Separate them a little bit. Now there's a different way of doing this, and I don't actually need that. Let me just show you. So I'm just not gonna use the div keyword there. I'm just gonna use the class, because Emmet already knows that I want a div, right? And here I want to put an image, and I'm not going to use the square brackets anymore. I'm gonna use the class thumbnail. And then here I'm going to use an underscore, and I'm going to put the $sign and the multiplication, the asterisk, times 5, and then tab. Alright, we were able to achieve the same thing here. Now the difference between these two here is that on this one you can put a space, and this one you cannot do that. If I put a space here and try to do it, look what happens. See that? So that is the only difference there. Here you can put a space and tab, and now you have one class here and other class here. All right, so that's the difference between those two. Now there's other things that you can do with it. Let me just show you right now. I'm just gonna copy and paste that one. Now you can also add a 0 to this by adding another $sign and tab. You can see you can add a 0 to it in front of it. As a matter of fact, you can add as many zeros as you want. Put another $sign there and tab again. Right, let's go. Let me also show you that you can, all right, start at any number you want. So for example, I'm in number 10. I'm gonna create 10 classes, right? And I want to start at number 5. So what I do is a $sign and the at symbol, and then the number that I want to start from, and then tab, and I started from 5 to 14. All right, perfect, right? Of course, I can put as many numbers as I want there, and we start from 5. All right, now we can also do this in reverse order. So let me show you real quick. Reverse order, all you have to do is put at and the minus, and then put your cursor at the end and tab, and then you start from the biggest number first, 20 to 1 in this case. All right, so there you go. I think this is going to be very useful for some of the things that you want to do. And let's continue actually exploring Emmet and finding out some more great features. Thank you so much for watching this lecture, and I see you in the next one. Take care. Welcome back, my dear students. In the last lecture, we learned about numbering. Now, make sure that when you save that file, you save it as numbers.html. I think I didn't do that in the last lecture. All right, so make sure you have the file numbers.html and you have all this information there. And then make sure that you have your basic.html empty, so that way we can always use it to create something else. All right, just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Now, on this lecture here, what we're going to be doing is playing around with comments, how to toggle comments on and off with Emmet. All right, so now let's say, for example, I have a paragraph with some lorem ipsum. Let's actually do a save as before we forget. So let's go ahead and just call this comments.html and p lorem. There we go. Actually, let's create a div with a class container, and then let's put that paragraph in there with some text. Perfect. So let's say we want to comment this on and off, right? Well, let's comment this off right now. We have a couple options, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about. First, we can say command. We can go ahead and select all this and press command / and that will comment everything out. All right, let's do undo. And you can also use a command / again if you want. You see that? So command / twice, and you can uncomment that again. So that's one way of doing it. Now, the second way of doing this is that you put your, let's say, for example, you put your cursor there and you press command / and that will comment this out. Now, there's another way of doing this. You see, this did not comment everything out, because the default way of doing it is shift alt option, and I think for Windows is alt, for me is option, shift option / and that will comment all this out. Now keep in mind that it's gonna comment everything out to the body. If you do it like this, you make sure that you put your cursor right here, all right, inside that specific element, and then you do shift alt or option depending on what operating system you are, and / and that will comment all this out. If you're having some issues when you are using this one, selecting everything and pressing command / it's because your shortcuts from your coeditor is conflicting with the Emmet shortcuts. All right, so make sure that you fix that. There's a lot of documentation on that. So, but anyway, this is how you do that. Another great thing that I do, sometimes I have a lot of elements on the page, and I want to comment where each of the elements end, right? So I will grab the class, I will copy, put it right here, all right, select it, and then command / all right, that's what I would do. That way I have that there. Now if you do this without the words, actually command / it would just write an empty right here, / it would write an empty comment, right? Then you can put whatever you want in there. I mean, you can play around. There's a lot of documentation on what to use, since it conflicts with the keyboard shortcuts of the editor. Sometimes the preferable way is command alt or option and then / right? But you got to watch it with that one, because as you can see, it selects everything on the body if you don't put it inside the element. Now you can also do this with, write a style tag here. You can also do this with CSS. So let's say, for example, you have let's just put this in the on the head. That way we can play around with it a little bit. Right here. There we go. Let's say we can write something down here. Let's write some property. Let's say, for example, background and let's say background is black, whatever. Okay, you want to comment this out, you can do the command / and you do this, you have the same thing. It knows that it's CSS and it does it. You can also put it in front of it and command / and it does this. Now if you use the other one, command option or alt and then / it does everything, right? So keep that in mind. It's perfect, isn't it? All right, so you can always get the same thing, same results with the CSS. Right here, what I did was just command / and I get an empty one so that I can fill it up. So this is how we use comments. Anyway, thank you so much for allowing me to teach you this information, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi, welcome back, my dear student. In this lecture here, we are going to be exploring how to insert attributes, how to insert text in attributes with Emmet. Now, let's go ahead and do a save as on basic HTML, and let's call this text attributes -attributes, and you can call this whatever you want, whatever makes sense to you. I'm just calling it this, and let's go ahead and explore this a little bit. So let's say, for example, I have a div here, and inside that div I want to have an image, but now I want to put a source for that image, and in this case I'm going to put a placeholder in that image so that we have some type of something that we can see on the browser. But let me go ahead and show you how to do that. So the way we do that is we use brackets. Instead of curly brackets, we use the square brackets, and then we type in whatever we want, right? So we type in the source just like we would do in the element itself, and here you would type in the placeholder, whatever, or the path of the image. In my case, it's going to be a placeholder, and I'm just going to say placehold.it, and the image is going to be 100 by 100. All right, this is the place that I use to serve some of my images. And then tab. Let's go ahead and look at this in the browser. I'm going to right click and open in the browser, and as you can see there, that's my image right here. All right, we can also use this for anchor tags or links. All right, so we have an anchor tag here. All right, and square brackets. Let's create an attribute here. So href, and this is going to go to Google. So http Google. This gets so big sometimes I really can't see where it's going. All right, and tab, and that would create that href there. All right, so that would be very, very easy to do. Now we can also, let's just let's just undo it, and then we can also type in the curly brackets here and say click here. All right, and tab. Now we have a link with a href and the text. Now we go and see that on the browser. Of course, we can see the link here, and we just click it and it goes to Google. Right, so that's how you can insert those attributes there. Super easy to do. All right, so anyway, hopefully that will give you some guidance into what you can do with Emmet, and on the next lectures I'm going to show you some more great features. Thank you so much, and I see you in the next one. Hi, my dear students, welcome back. In this lecture here, we're going to be learning how we can jump to edit points, things that we need to edit, elements that we need to edit, right? Instead of actually pressing, clicking it, or using the arrow keys a lot to get there, we're going to find out a shortcut. So Emmet has a very good feature when it comes to that. All right, so for example, let's say let's do a save as here first before we forget again. And let's go ahead and call this edit, and I'm just going to call it edit points, edit-points.html. Perfect. So let's say we have a div here with a class of container. All right, and then inside this div I have an h1. Actually, I'm just going to put h2, and I have a paragraph there, and I'm going to put some lorem here. Then I want to have another paragraph in here. I'm gonna use a caret symbol. All right, so that way it does not put it inside here. All right, so let me just make sure that there we go. We're putting that lowering inside there. All right, so this will put this P in the same level as this. Now I can also go ahead and put an anchor inside this paragraph, an anchor tag, and I'm not gonna put anything there, and you're gonna see. So tab. Now we have this div element here with a class of container. We have an h2 here that's empty. We have a paragraph that has something. That's the only thing that has any text in here. Everything else is empty. So let's say, for example, I'm here, right? And I want to go to the next edit point. So I'm going to press Control, Alt, or Option, depending on what operating system you are, and the forward arrow key. And that's going to take me to that first edit point. That means this is the it figures out, it says, you know what? We don't have anything here in the H2. Why don't you put something there? Basically, that's what it's actually guessing that I want to do. So it's right. I want to put something here. I'm going to put something like the title, right? And then I'm here, and then I want to go to the next edit point, which should be this href right here, right? I don't know. Let's try to find out where it wants to take me, right? So Control Alt forward, and then it says, you know what? You need to put something in this paragraph. What do you want, right? So actually, the next edit point would be that paragraph because we don't have anything there. We just have this anchor tag in there. So I'm just gonna put some lowering Ipsen too, right? I don't want to make him feel bad. Now I am here in this. Now we have something in this paragraph, and then I want to go to the next edit point. So Control Alt or Option, and then the arrow key again, the forward, and it's gonna take me to the href. You're gonna put something in there, and I'm just gonna put my website, and then Control Alt again, and now what do I want to put here? Click here, or my website right there, right? Control Alt or Option, and the next one here. I don't want to put anything on this paragraph. I already did. Anything after it? Nothing. So I'm done. We can also go back to it. So let's say, for example, I take this off and I'm here. All I have to do is Control, Option, or Alt, and then put the back arrow key, and it would take me to the next one and the next one. See? I'm back up here again. So this is how you can switch around. You can travel around edit points. I think it's a lot easier than looking to where you want to put stuff in and clicking it, or pressing this a lot of times to go there. See that? That would take a long time. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this lecture, and I see you in the next one. Take care. Welcome back, my dear student. In this lecture here, we're going to be learning how to match tags, how to go to the next set of tags. This is super important, and sometimes we can get lost in the tags, right? We can't find the beginning or the end of the tags. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do Control Shift S, and let's just call this matching hyphen tags, and enter. All right. So let's say, for example, I have a div here with a class of container, of course, our lovely class, with one paragraph that's lowering Ipsen in there, right? And then let's just do another one there, plus let's make sure we have the caret there, and then lowering Ipsen. There we go. All right. All right. And that's about it. That's let's see. So let's see how this works. So all we need to do here, let's say, for example, if I want to find the matching tag of this here, some co-editors will not help you, like Sublime can help you. See that right now? If I put my cursor here, it would show me a really small line under the P, right? But if I want to go there, all I have to do is put my cursor there on the first tag and click on Control, well, not click, but press Control Shift T, and it will take my cursor to the next matching tag. All right. So for example, here I would press Control Shift T. You see that? This is very useful when you have a lot of markup there and you don't know where you are. That way you can come here and put a comment there on that specific right there, right? You can do that if you want. Super useful to do. All right. So make sure that you know how to do this. This is super simple. And on the next lecture, let's learn some more features from Emmet. Thank you so much, and I see you in the next one. Take care. Welcome back, my dear student. In this lecture here, we are going to be learning how to wrap text with HTML elements very quickly with Emmet. All right, so go to your basic.html, do a save as, and call this file wrap.html. Enter. All right, so let me make this a little bigger so that way you can see it. So let's say, for example, I have some Lorem Ipsum here, or some text, whatever other text you have in front of you. If I wanted to wrap this in a P tag, all I have to do is select all of it and press Control W. And then here you can see that I have this console or palette open, right? All you have to do is type in the element that you want to wrap, that you want to use to wrap this text with. So in my case, it's going to be a P tag. All right, and that's it. Done. Now, if you want to put a class, you can put whatever you want in there. So I'm just going to put a class of para for paragraph. And as you can see, it did it for me. So enter. That's it. It's done. All right. Now, we can also do this. I'll show you a quick example. Let's say I have some text here. I was going to put houses there. Really doesn't matter. I'm just going to put some random text, words, passwords, users, pages, and posts. Right? So let's say I want to create an order list with some list items. So I select everything, Control W, and then here I take that off because it takes whatever element I used before, takes that and puts it into history. So I select it again, come back to the palette here, and type my abbreviation, UL. And then you see that I wrapped everything on that UL. But what I want to do is I want to use a list item. So greater than symbol, list item. Now it wraps everything in one list item. In order for us to wrap everything in many different list items, what do you think we have to do? We have to what? Make copies of them, right? Replicate these list items. And the way we replicate them is by using the asterisk, right? Look at that. I don't even have to put a number there. And if you put a number, then you have a problem. All right? So make sure you put no number there, and that way you can wrap everything that's left in the same list item. All right? So this is how you wrap around text with Emmet. On the next lecture here, we're going to be talking about some extra features and how we can manage them a little better. And see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Welcome back, my dear students. Now in this lecture here, I want to show you how powerful Emmet is, not only with HTML, but with CSS. That's right, Emmet can actually help you write CSS a lot faster too, with a whole bunch of variations. So let's go ahead and right click on this folder right here, or create a new file inside that Emmet folder. And here I'm just going to create a new file called styles.css, save, enter. That's it. Done. Now let's say, for example, I have a body selector here, right? And I want to write some styles, some CSS styles. Let's say I want a background. So I type in BG and I got a background. All right. If I type in G with a plus symbol, it will write all this for me. All right. This is default stuff and I can just play around with it, right? I can also have the chance to do BD border, and if I type BD plus, then it writes all that for me. All right. So as you can see, with the plus symbol, you can get a lot more in your code. We can also get BDT for border top. All right, and the plus symbol, and then you can get some information there, some more values there. BD bottom, plus symbol. There we go. All right. So we can also get BGI, background images. What else? We can also get BD colon N for border none. Actually, I think I typed this in the wrong way. There we go. Border none. All right. I mean, there are many different ones. Let's say, for example, you want to do paddings. You can do padding 10 pixels, or you can do padding percentage or EM. There we go. Or you can do many different values here. You can do, say, something like 10 divided by hyphens, of course. All right, or 4. All right, you can always do padding, and then you can say something like EM divide the values like this. There we go. All right. So there are many different variations, there are many different variations that you can do with Emmet and CSS. What I suggest for you to do is, if you want to learn a lot more than this, go to your browser, open your browser, and type in your my best friend, Emmet cheat sheet. All right, right there, cheat sheet. You should get this URL right here. Click on it. And then here, you're going to see the syntax of all the abbreviations, how you use them. All right. You got the HTML. You have a whole bunch of abbreviations that you can use here that you can learn. All right. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to see the CSS one right here. All right. And they have a whole bunch. They have one for every little property of CSS that you can imagine. This is all the border. As you can see, it has a little title there. This is for the tables, outline. If you keep going down, it's just unbelievable. It's so much information that it gets overwhelming. What I suggest for you to do is just use the ones that are most common for you, the regular ones, the ones you use every single day, right? Like borders. And once you learn how to use one, let's say, for example, let's say you learn how to use border, and you know that once you type in BD plus symbol, all right, that BD plus symbol, that you know that you can use that plus symbol to with other elements. So it's very similar to use different elements. All right, so very similar. The syntax is the same. Some of them you separate them with a colon, some of them you separate them with a comma, and some of them you use the plus symbol. All right, very simple. Next thing you know, you are going to be creating your own custom ones. Well, you think it's custom, but they already have it. But because you use the, let's say, for example, the border ones, you're able to jump in and do the padding or do the margins. All right, padding and margins are very similar. So as you can see right here, they are margin and padding. They're very, as a matter of fact, they are the same. You can use the same features in padding and margin. Look at that. All right. So if it's different, they will let you know. But anyway, hopefully this will help you get in and learn as many as you can. So thank you so much for watching this lecture, and I see you in the next one. Welcome back, my dear student. In this lecture here, I'm going to show you how to create gradients with browser prefixes using Emmet. So let's go to our CSS styles, and you can see that we already have some styles here, some rules, right? Well, we're going to be playing around a little more with that, but before we do that, let's go to our basic.html, and let's do a save as and create a file called gradients.html. Perfect. Now the next thing is to link it to that styles sheet right here, and all we need is link : CSS. And then here we add an S because the default was style, and our sheet is named styles.css, right? Styles with an S. Now that we are linked, now we can play around with it, right? So what I'm going to do here is, let me just right click on it and see what's going on here. We can see that we have some borders. That's because we already have some styles there, right? We have some styles here already. So I'm just gonna comment that out. Command / and here refresh, Command R or Control R, right? If you're on a Windows machine. So let's go ahead and play around with this. Let's use our body selector because we don't have any other elements there. And here we're going to type in VGA. That is going to create this background attachment, and we are going to be making it fit so we can play around with our gradients, right? Basic CSS stuff. Now here we are going to be using LG parentheses. Now look at this. I'm going to type in two values, two colors here. I'm going to say yellow and red. And then tab right here. Save, come back here and refresh. And now you can see we got a beautiful gradient here of yellow and red. It's going to be half of the screen, right? 50-50. Now we can specify some other things here. We can specify where it's coming from what location. So we're going to say bottom right and save and tab to do all the browser prefixes. Refresh here and you can see we change the location from the bottom right. We can also say, let's undo this and say top right. We can change location from everywhere we want. Refresh. Actually, forgot to do this. Save, refresh. All right. So we know we can change location. Another thing that we can do is that we can specify a percentage here, 80, and we can say something like 20 here. Oops. And tab, refresh, and now you can see that we get something like this, right? 20% and then 80%. All right. All right. So another thing is with some co-editors, especially with this one, I don't know which one you're using, but the one that I'm using right now allows me to make one change in one place like this. Let's say I want to change this color here to blue. And it gives me the ability to reflect this change throughout this whole rule right here, right? We can make all this blue just by pressing a command key, a keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to type in my keyboard Shift Command R, and you can see they all turn into blue now. But this depends really on your co-editor. Some co-editors work with Command B. All right, so you got to just make sure that your co-editor that it has that feature. All right, so read the documentation for it. For Sublime is Command Shift R or Command B for some co-editors. All right. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this will help you make gradients super fast and you will enjoy your developing a lot more. So take care, and I see you in the next lecture.